I'm just gonna show you a few things. We don't have that much time, so from a book that came out here in the beginning of this year, in the spring. So I'm gonna flick through that book and show you a few things from that book. And then I also put on, I thought we could, I don't know, it's not running. When you came in here, we was just putting on some a little bit different movies. I thought to start out with. I think I will show one more. Take the sound off. I'm from Denmark. Born in '72, so I'm getting a middle-aged man now. I'm educated at Central St. Martin's under Professor Louis Wilson and Chris New. I'm educated in menswear. It's probably around 12, 13 years ago, 11. And since that I've been doing shows in Paris and in Copenhagen and all kind of places. Also did one show, I was invited to do something in Beijing some years ago, so I've been doing all kind of things. Mostly I work with fashion as a brand, you can say, but I'm also actually, since I was 10, I've been playing music, so music is kind of my entrance to what I do. I've been playing drums for around 30 years, so that's kind of how it all started, how you put an ID on how you create a character, because you know music and fashion is very related. How to dress in certain groups, societies, small gatherings of, and how to look when you're playing in a band and which certain kind of music style you want to. But I'm just gonna show you this one. I don't know if it was running. I also have some stores. I have one in New York, have one in Copenhagen, have one in Oslo, and we have a web-based store. I'm selling in around 30 to 40 countries, also selling here in Hong Kong, to different smaller shops and bigger shops that's buying it. I do, as told before, also do some teaching. Central St. Martin's, I'm trying not to do it too much actually, because it takes time. So once in a while I do like, okay, let's do something up. So I've been doing that thing at this, St. Martin's, some of the academies in Europe. Been doing some talks around the world. Music-wise, I'm putting out different kind of music things once when I have time. And actually here in 2 weeks, there's coming 2 new albums out with some stuff I've been working on. And kind of everything that I do, I kind of try to work a little bit in the same kind of process, either if it's music or if it's creating a textile or working with a knit structure. I try to do it in kind of, you could say, my way. So I'm just gonna flick through some different things because we don't have much time. And it's of course very nice to be here in Hong Kong, at the Hong Kong Design Institute talk. I just flicked through a few things. There's 300 pages, so we don't have time for talk about all of them. Here's like how things go from one idea to a test of a little shoe. Okay, could we cut up a shoe like you do with toast bread? Like how didn't work out, but we could. Been doing different kind of movies as well, where it's mostly about like working with the body, the shape of the body, and how, like with motion, how you could actually work it as a sculpture. So this is a little picture from one of those videos. I've been doing a lot of set design for music groups, theaters, festivals. This is a little bit difficult to see, but it's 2 massive umbrellas that can dance and be folded up, and it's from a big rock stage on a rock festival, and they are around 5 meters tall. It's a little bit difficult to see here because it's such a small picture. Try also sometimes, this is actually the project from when I was studying at St. Martin's, was a blown up suit. It's called the egg suit. The idea of that you actually could transform the body sculpture, so it could be being a suit, but it could also be blown up and end up being like the shape of an egg. There comes another picture of it. It's from the Year Festival in south of France, where I showed some stuff. But it was actually, I think, on my second year on St. Martin's, I felt in the beginning when I was studying, I was actually not feeling so comfortable. I don't know, I was not like, maybe I didn't have much self-confidence, and actually this project were the project where I suddenly got a little bit more, hey, someone actually liked what I was doing, and you would also realize that's how it goes once in a while in the creative business, that you also need a little bit self-confidence in whatever you do. Also for you girls and boys out there on the study. Is the microphone feeding a lot, or is it just me? But, in the studio we work a lot with a different kind of, we try to do different tests. We work a lot with the face, because the face is one of the quickest communicators, and one of the first thing you see when you talk to people and when you meet them. So it's also very easy to work around glasses, colors, whatever you do, the face is very directly. Sometimes there's an idea that don't work, but in the studio we do a hell lot of different tests. This is one of them. It didn't work out, but the picture was good, and my intern was not really that happy, I think, about the photo. But I thought, like, okay, let's do a picture. I work a lot using textiles a lot as well, like with installations. I do a lot of museum exhibitions where I use my, you could call it maché, my niche, or the fabric, and the way I can create is a lot with textile, and trying to form different shapes with textiles, creating rooms with textiles. This is a blown up piece that was made for the Knitwear Festival in Holland, not festival, like the Knitwear Museum. It's the Netherlands Architects Institute, the Dutch Architect Institute. I think it's a Rem Koolhaas building, if anybody is into architecture. They asked me to do a 500 square meter installation with dancers and and I thought they are working with buildings, I'm working with the body. For this project it should be called body building. So I created this big tunnel system at the museum with a lot of dancers that was like blood cell in this building and doing different things. I was working with 5 different colors of red, as you see over here, and so it's like a very pink reddy, a very normal red, a more syrene red, a more purple red, and trying to give it a little bit flimmering effect. Textiles, fringed up. Some of the things also you see here, that there's some of the prints we are doing on, like when for the fashion shows, we have like there's different ways where we can work with how we can create a Henrik Vibskov style is with the silhouette, but also working a lot with the fabrics. Knit structures is also a way of really like getting the material to look like something that we've been working with. So a lot of print, different knit structures, different weaving techniques we're working with. And over here is a print, some years old, but also here is from a print to a piece. Over there you have the print. It's like, and there it's the finished piece and became this very pinky red dress. When I do the shows, we work a hell lot with like creating a full installation, so a full concept for the shows. And sometimes it goes really good, sometimes it doesn't. But that's kind of how it is. Here it was a project where in a period I was working with some boobies and breasts, and I thought, okay, and I could feel every time when I was like, what are you doing at the moment? We working with some boobies, some big, wet, shiny boobies, and every time when I talked about what I was doing, I realized that it had a little bit smiling effect on nearly everybody. Also, the president of Chambre Syndicale was like getting a little bit, but with a smile. So I noticed that, hey, maybe I should actually, I haven't done so much stuff that is like, you could call it sex related. You could say many of my things are very neutral sex-wise. So I thought, hey, maybe I should do a project where I'm working a lot with breasts. The breasts, the shape of it shouldn't be too real, because then it would be more, you could say, realistic, scary. It should maybe be a little bit with humor. So working a lot with humor. So I thought a good shape of humor would also be a little bit kids-like. So I thought maybe you could work with the shape from Baba Papa, and put a little breast nipple on top. And you can see over here was the first, you have to do some molds. And we did a factory. I thought we could, okay, let's do a mountain of breasts and put all the models on top of that. And for 2 months, we were calculating every 10 minutes we could do 3. So like, okay, we have 2 months, so if we just go continue, just keep a workshop happening, and then we see how many we upload. We could do like, after 2 months, we didn't have a mountain. We had something, I don't know if there's a picture of it. It didn't look like a mountain. So, and that was like 24 hours before we had to go to Paris to do this fantastic show with all the wet, shiny boobies. So we had to do a plan B, and that was kind of, okay, we have a lot of breast, we don't have a mountain. How can we create the same illusion, visual effect? And that was to put it on sticks. So it became more, and maybe it fitted more the concept of like more Garden of Eden, paradise. Putting the models was supposed to be standing, but then the models was laying down, as you can see, so they're lying, and the viewers are walking instead. The boobies had like all the different projects. I work a lot with concepts, but it has different, it can be political references, different culture perspectives. So try to see, for example, see breasts, okay, we all been there, it's Mother Earth, it's like a food perspective, it has a sexual perspective. How do we identify us with a like female, boy? There was all kind of different themes you could put into that, and that's how we work with the different shows. See, whoops, there was also some artwork and working a little bit with the color palette. Some of the stuff is really old in here, but it's good. It's good to show, gives a little reference to history. This is some knitwear, where we also try to work a lot with different structures, different shining mat, different yarn, and of course colors, yarn dye. And I've been in Hong Kong a lot actually over the last 10 years because we have a knit agent producer here that actually can do stuff when it's getting a little bit complicated. In Europe we can do a lot of things, but sometimes when I'm using a hell lot of colors, I'm using some structures that is getting like new structures that the older machines can't really deal with. And then if we call Italy to ask, hey, can we do this knit program? And they're like, no. Then we can call Portugal and ask, can you do this knit program? And they're like, no. We can call someone in Spain and ask if they would like to help with this knit program, and they would say no. But here in Hong Kong and with the knit agent, they have like the much newer machine that can do much more complicated knit patterns and knit structures. So that's why I'm coming here once in a while. If you see me, you're welcome to say hi. How's the time? Good. Still have a little bit of time. Try to work a lot with different materials as well. So it's not only like, you could say like textile can do a lot of things, but there's also problems with textiles towards like creating, for example, installation. You need to work with either some wood materials and iron or steel or plastic. So we have a workshop in Copenhagen in my studio. We have one side of the workshop is like a wooden metal, dusty. You can spray paint, you can paint, we can build, we can hammer, and we can make noise in there. The other side of the workshop is much more textile based, much finer things. It's not dusty, it's not noisy. It's a place where you actually can work with much more finer things. So one end is very, and the other end is much more finer paperwork. Anti-dust, the fine workshop, I call it. But there we are trying to constantly, like, we're working on 10 projects maybe at the same time, exhibitions, all kind of things. And we're trying to, like, develop all kind of object structures. Sometimes stuff happens when we with mistakes. Working in wood, sometimes we take, for example, if we had a pattern in wood that we could, maybe sometimes we can transfer it to a paper pattern and use it in textiles, or how you build up clothing. So this is also from this messy workshop. Use a lot of energy on creating spaces as well, like how to define a space for when we're doing the shows. Use a lot of time on how to enter a room, and trying to imagine how people are actually entering this, whatever they're gonna see. I think doing those fashion shows are pretty important in the way of actually you have this half an hour when you're doing a show where people are just waiting. You're waiting for the last people to arrive. You're waiting for a press bus. I think that's actually the most exciting, because everybody's kind of a little bit nervous. You know, there's a seating. Some is more, a little bit more, you can call it VIPs, or they sit on an A row, but they also a little bit nervous. Some of the students, which are helping, students can always get in to see the shows, because I think it's important to have a new generation seeing it as well. They are also a little bit nervous. So you have this moment where people are a little bit flickering. Some is sitting with sunglasses trying to be cool, some isn't, but everybody's not really sure what's going to happen. And I think it's a pretty important moment of doing those shows. We have like 1,000 people, which is a little bit unsure. And you can try to create a little atmosphere. You can do some stuff with music. You could put music on. Sometimes we do stuff like, I had a period where I had a lot of German interns and assistants. My press agent, which is helping out, is German, so everybody had to talk German, because I thought that would give a good effect. Asked some of the people helping me to walk around speaking German, doing notes. So when people are sitting there a little bit unsure what's going on, then with some people just walking around in like white jackets, looking a little bit like they're working on a laboratorium, just making people a little bit nervous, playing a little bit scary music, trying to freak out, or suddenly someone is jumping up and starts singing or something like. But this moment, it's pretty exciting. Knitwear, knit structure, and a chair covered. This was the project you also saw just when before we went in, and it was you could say it's paper, and very graphically, you could call it a transformation where when you go through it, you get sold washed transformation. There's a really nice sound effect. It's paper that is slid up and then used instead of graphically. The faster it spins, the color change, because the color of this paper streamer is like goes from orange to black. So the faster it goes, the darker it gets. It's a little bit difficult to see it on the movie, and that's sure. That was, I showed one of the movies I just showed was, it's from Milan, where I created, it's like six kind of robots that we could control. The idea was like to create this, a little bit like, I think it's called CatCat, you know, where you have the strings, where you're doing, isn't it CatCat? Where you can create different patterns with strings between your hands. So I thought, okay, let's put a hell lot of elastics in between those motors, robots here, and then we could create this like strings doing different systems, different silhouettes. It ended up only being 2 strings because there was some mechanical problems. But it had a little feeling of it. Also working, you know, half see-through, a lot of fringes you can see a little bit, and when you have it, you're creating moire. I was working a lot with the color of Rusty, which I really like. It was from a collection called Last Pure Pandemonium. It was about a collection, let's see if there's some other stuff from it. No, there's that's it. A car. Some black carrots. We're working, trying out, here we're testing out a few things like how we can work with extra hair, and if we can, you know, make the face longer. So we tried different versions where we made a really long face. It's some years old. It was called the Donkey Solar, how was it? Experiment. So I also tried to build that system, but with real propels on a donkey. Didn't work out for so long because the donkey was not really interested in having this system experiment. It kind of denied being part of the project. But you can see here for the show we had a lot of donkeys. It's a show which is happening in an area called Siberia. This is in Copenhagen. From when we do the shows in Copenhagen, we mix female and men's. And it was out in an area which looked a little bit moon landscapey, but yeah, we had a lot of donkeys without propels though. I actually built a very cool system, I thought, like with a solar system that picked up from UV light so it could make the propel spin, but the donkeys denied. That's how it is. This book is into colors, so now we are in the mint section. So we started in red, it goes over to pink, it goes into orange, now we're in a mint area. This is from another show where I also used a hell lot of textile that I was blowing up, trying to create a different structure. It was called the Mint Institute. It was a collection where I tried to work with the structure of mint, trying to work with, like, create a mint identity for the people. So everybody had this minty hair bit. We were working with some mint music. We were trying to do some mint marshmallows on stage. We were doing a mint dance. We were trying to create a mint scents that we dripped around when we were doing it in Paris. We were doing it on an old nightclub, and it was smelling pretty bad of a lot of parties and beers. But there we had the mint oil around it, and then this massive blown up mint installation that for some people created a look like an alligator mouth. For some people it was more like a sexual reference. For other people it was anyway. The Mint Institute. Now it's getting blue. Black, white, minty. This was, I tried to keep myself a little bit paranoid. I was teaching at St. Martin, so I gave them a project called Panopticon. I was working for some Dutch people, creating a Panopticon room. Each day on my bike, I was biking by this building that was called the Panopticon building. And I started doing a collection called the Panopticon. Just like for 3 months, only whatever I did, it had to be with the word Panopticon. Just to try to create a little bit noia for myself, like so, to see what happened. And this is from the Panopticon show, which is the Panopticon collection. It's like a carousel with transparent wall and with outlines of a home, where you see a garage, you see a toilet, you see a lounge room, and the walls are spinning around. And I can show a movie because it's probably, are we running a bit out of time? No? 3 minutes, wow. It's like yeah. Sorry, a bit.
What about you lazy bastards in the back?
This is some years old. It's out in the garden, getting ready for the show, preparing interviews behind, backstage. And it's from the Panopticon show. I like to do shows outside. I think it's pretty well given with the nature, and it's really nice to do things working outside with the nature. So if I can and the weather is good, we do stuff outside. Whoa. The models are having a camera hidden in the hair, so this is just a camera on the catwalk. It's an old collection. There you can see the Panopticon room is spinning around, the door is standing still, and anyway, this is actually from the collection which is out here now, right now. It's called the SpringWrap Spectacular. And it was like creating a drum machine, creating like the models was creating music. So it's like a piano, and every time when they step on it, they would, mechanical and technical, they would create movements, and so the models created this sound. I've done it with something called the Fantabulous Bicycle Show, where all the models had to sit on a bicycle and create the music. But this is a newer version. I thought, okay, it's been a while since I've been working with music. Here we are in a transport with a dog. Thank you.
A fascinating journey into your career, really. All right, I'd like to invite some questions from the floor, please.
Congratulations, it's wonderful, your work.
Thank you.
And so I think during your presentation, we have seen a lot, you doing a lot like art installation or space. Can you tell us, when you're designing, do you always designing your collection with the stage or the art installation all at the same time? This is my first question.
First question.
It's got a list.
Normally it goes very differently. Sometimes it starts with a general idea. Sometimes we don't know what we're doing, so we start out in 4 different directions. For example, we are actually in a process now for the men's show, and we started working with death, rituals, dancings, and so we looked into all kind of different, researched a lot, all kind of things, worked, and hopefully it's in the end doing something. We'll see. We still have 1 month, kind of. So it depends very much. Sometimes if we start in the process, we start like very precisely. Okay, we only work with those colors. Other times maybe there is an idea for working with clay or ceramic, and that we can form a dress out of. Depends.
So I'm more familiar of your menswear, but of course you do women's wear as well. And for your vision or inspiration, what do you find the difference when you're designing menswear and women's wear in your collection?
I think
for the menswear and women's wear.
You could say some of my stuff is very unisex, also shape-wise. Sometimes I work a bit with things, but mostly if you look around here, most girls has actually adapted menswear clothing. We see a lot of jeans. Like if you see on like contemporary scene, there's a lot of menswear in the female fashion. But of course, you can work with different more complicated silhouettes that you can't do in the men's. I would say, if we're talking about functionality, colors you can also do a little bit more. If we're talking about commercial, non-commercial, of course, can be a difference. But I think it's very different, like designing female to men's, but there's many of the same techniques you can be using. You have to sew it up, so that's similar. It can be the same fabric, that's similar. Then we have the shape that we can change. There's some details that can go different, but it can also be the same. It depends. I don't know. Was that an answer?
Hi, I'm Jasmine. I'm working for the Flanders Fashion Institute in Antwerp in Belgium, and I'm wondering how your business is structured. How many people are you, and what is, in your opinion, the key of success for your business? Thank you.
I try to have a little small company, so we should be really fast and mobile. We actually, I would say, nearly too many now, but we are a little team. 1, 2 people in production, 1, 2 people assisting me, 1, 2, 3 people on the sales team, and then we have some people, around 4 interns per half year. Then there's some people working in the store, then there's some people coming in half time. So like when we do the Christmas dinner, that's next week when I get back. I think normally we're around 20, 30 people. And it's not everybody who is working. It can be friends who's been helping with a project. So it's a little bit difficult to see, but that's kind of the team. The team is very based on friends as well. There's a lot of good friends helping out with different things. And I don't pay them. they don't pay me either when I have to help with moving their house, you know. So.
I'm afraid that's all the time we have. I think those of you with any more questions might like to catch up with Henrik during the networking break. Okay. Again, a big hand for Henrik Vibskov.